In college, they were teammates. As pros, they were rivals. And tonight, they are back at it again in their 40s. The legend, John McEnroe, and the native New Englander, Tim Mayotte. Just like old times. In their prime, they were the best tennis had to offer. Between them, they've won 28 Grand Slam singles titles, played on Davis Cup winning teams, and given fans moments that live on in tennis history. Now, these Elite Eight, a little older and perhaps a little wiser, come to Boston to renew old rivalries and make new history. 8 legends, 5 days, 1 winner. Champions Cup Boston, next.
Shut up!
Last year, John McEnroe turned back the clock and electrified the Boston crowds with his still magical shot-making skills and his still maniacal court behavior.
You can't make it. I mean, that is like ridiculous to make a call like that at 7 points.
Johnny Mac made it to the finals of the Champions Cup in Boston last year, losing to Todd Martin. Tonight, Mac begins the quest for another title run. It is the 2007 Champions Cup as the 3-time Wimbledon champion and former #1 John McEnroe renews his rivalry with fellow American Tim Mayotte, followed by the return of perhaps the greatest ever, Pete Sampras, back on court against the Czech, Peter Korda. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Agganis Arena on the campus of Boston University, and welcome to night 1 of our coverage of the 2007 Champions Cup Boston. Brett Haber, pleased to be with you for the next 4 nights, and we have got a goodie for you at this event. If you've never seen an Outback Champion Series event before, it is round-robin play. Each one of our 8 champion players guaranteed of playing 3 matches throughout the weekend, 4 if they make it to play on Sunday, and we are quite literally dripping with superstar talent here in this second event of the season. The field split into 2 groups of 4, and the first name in Group A is the one that has everybody buzzing, Pete Sampras, making his OCS debut this weekend. He'll play Korda in our second match tonight. We'll see all of Group B tomorrow, including the former Wimbledon champion, Pat Cash, and our defending series champion, Jim Courier. With that, I bring in my partner, former ATP Tour pro Leif Shiras. And Leif, let's start with Johnny Mac. It appears by my eye that he looks and plays exactly as he did 25 years ago when he was winning Grand Slam titles.
Yeah, it's remarkable how well he plays at 48 years of age. And it's remarkable to think that 30 years ago, he was an amateur, an 18-year-old amateur at Wimbledon, playing through the qualifying and reaching the semifinals, and he's still playing with the same passion. It's that feathery touch and that same passion. He's remarkable to watch.
Passion is kind of a euphemism for temper, and I fear that that hasn't changed much either when it comes to Johnny Mac. The man across the net from him tonight is Tim Mayotte. Normally, anybody playing John McEnroe on this series is going to be kind of the underdog in terms of the crowd, but he's a native New Englander, Mayotte.
Yeah, nice contrast of styles, and that Tim Mayotte always been known as gentle Tim, but a guy who serves and volleys. As you know, ATP players, they played, and Mayotte has beaten McEnroe on the ATP Tour, so he knows how to get to McEnroe. The question is, will he have enough tonight to do it?
They were teammates at Stanford. They are across the net from each other tonight. They did battle 7 times in their younger days, and they're about to do it again. We'll take a break. First ball between Mac and Mayotte when we come back. The 2007 Champions Cup Boston is brought to you by Hess and by Dunkin' Donuts. And we welcome you back inside Agganis Arena. Our players just concluding their warm-ups, getting ready for this first match of the night. Johnny Mac is prepared. Tim Mayotte, a late add to our draw because of an injury to 7-time Grand Slam champion Mats Wilander this afternoon. And Leif, I know that you were there and you saw that go down, and that's too bad.
Yeah, Mats was just not comfortable with the back. He tried to get some treatment on it to make it happen so that he could play tonight. But I know Tim Mayotte, I spoke with him, and he was very excited about the possibility of, you know, pulling off something special here tonight. It's a big ask for this man, but he's got the kind of personality, the kind of spirit who could maybe make something good happen.
And not many home games in professional tennis, but a rare one for Tim Mayotte tonight, the Springfield, Massachusetts native, playing within an hour or so of his hometown, and so good on him. And a tall order, as you mentioned, playing Johnny Mack, who despite being 48 years old now, still plays with the feathery touch, the soft hands, the deft volleys, the crafty serve, the lefty ground strokes that won him 7 Grand Slam titles.
Yeah, and McEnroe is so good at when you do get some rhythm and some momentum, he will try and break that up by having a few words with the umpire. He's good at creating his own tempo and establishing his rhythm. It's his match, and you're going to have to play it on his terms.
You can see their head-to-head record on the ATP Tour. They met 7 times, Johnny Mack winning 5 of those, including that Wimbledon semifinal in 1982. Mack advancing to the final that year, ultimately losing to Jimmy Connors in the championship match at the All England Club. And, you know, I think this is going to be proof of the athleticism that tennis players maintain, not just into their 30s, which we'll see later on with Pete Sampras, but these guys well into their 40s. Mayotte 46, McEnroe 48. Now, Tim looks like he's you know, hit the buffet a couple of times since his playing days, but still looks good. And Mack, if he's gained a half a pound since his, you know, the mid-80s, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, that's the great advantage that McEnroe has, is that he's been playing more competitively over the last few years than Mayotte, and he is match tough where Mayotte is not. So the advantage goes to this man, and not surprising. Every time he walks on the court, even at 48 years of age, he feels it's a match that he can win, or he will fool himself into believing he can win. And this is one he knows he should win.
And don't you think that his ability to maintain such a high level at this advanced age is a function of the type of game that McEnroe plays? Even in his younger days, he never overpowered you and blew you off the court. It was about angles and feel and volleys and finesse, and he is able to play that same game today.
Yeah, that's a good point in many ways, because you look at someone like, say, Guillermo Vilas or some of the baseliners who really have to grind away from the back. McEnroe's not that way. He's a real lesson in how to construct a point and win a point, as opposed to waiting for someone to make an error. And yes, he can play patient tennis when he needs to, but most of the time he's looking to win the point, and that means plenty of entertainment. He
is a chess master the way he constructs points, and I think that's a great way to describe it, Leaf. We are getting ready to play. Our chair umpire is in place. That's Tom Fayed, and he will have the unsavory task of trying to corral Mr. McEnroe and his temper, which, as we mentioned off the top of the show, has not calmed at all in his later years. And sometimes, you know, you think it's for show because people come to see McEnroe play and you expect, you know, a little, oh, you cannot be serious. Well, it might start out as that, but it sometimes gets very serious with McEnroe.
Well, I think McEnroe would like to put himself in a position tonight where he can win this convincingly. He doesn't have to burn that kind of emotional energy, because he will need it for upcoming matches here this weekend. And I know that in his mind, he would like to take care of business here in straight sets.
All right, so the crowd is in place. A round of applause for our 2 combatants. Tim Mayotte hoping to generate some support from his hometown people, John McEnroe, the left-hander, to begin with his serve. And I mean, that is the textbook of McEnroe, the serve out wide, and then the deft half volley right on the line.
Yeah. Well, the bad news is for Mayotte there is that he hit his best return, perhaps of the evening, and McEnroe drop-shotted it right on the sideline. McEnroe, as I said, he likes to establish his own tempo. Plenty of time between points, between serves.
That serve is phenomenally effective.
And in so many ways, this was the greatest serve in the 80s, but also because how he backed it up. He'd always create something for the volley.
30 love. Well, I guess Tim's backhand one-hander is still in order.
Yeah, that was one of Mayotte's best plays. The backhand always dependable. He's got a good solid grip. You can see the volley, not enough really on that one.
Anytime you're right-handed and you're playing a lefty, it always looks a little crafty, and especially when you haven't played as much match tennis like Tim, that left-handed serve has got to look a little strange.
Yeah, because when he sees that ball coming out of the toss, out of the hit, it looks like it's going to hit his forehand. By the time he gets to him, it's in his hip pocket.
That call overruled by the chair, originally called in along the baseline, and Tom Fayed not wanting to tempt fate with McEnroe early in this match.
That is a very smart umpire. He's a smart man, and that's why he's been selected for this evening.
I don't know.
Maybe it was a little long. We don't have the advantage of the Hawkeye system that they're using on the ATP Tour. I don't even think John would like that. He'd rather not have a final authority. He'd like it to be up in the air.
Because as long as that technology doesn't exist at a given match, in Mac's mind, he's always right.
That's right.
So first game on serve, McEnroe holds. Tim's prodigious serve will be up next. Mac competed in the season opener. We mentioned this is the second event of the year on the Outback Champions Series. Mac going 3-1, finishing third place at the season opener in Naples. He beat Jimmy Arias. He beat Mats Wilander. Lost to Aaron Krickstein.
Tim Mayotte to serve.
No coaching, says Mac.
He's calling my sister to tell him playing first match, not second.
Now, it is kind of an interesting comment from Mayotte. It says a lot about these two. You know, Mayotte is a real family guy. His brother Chris, in fact, was a tour player, quite accomplished, and wonderful sense of family. Of course, McEnroe has a great family as well. Yet sometimes at his matches, it's Robert Plant who shows up, you know. I mean, he's got an A-list of celebs who comes by.
One of the first guys to mix tennis and rock and roll, and others have followed in his footsteps. Yannick Noah, huge pop star in France. Our friend Jim Courier, pretty accomplished musician. He's a rock and roll guy, man.
That's terrible.
And I think he analyzed that pretty accurately.
He's doing my job. I like that. And I didn't have to say anything bad about it. But I know that there was recently a senior event in Ireland. And you know, there was some important musicians around there to visit.
15-40.
So early, a couple of break chances for McEnroe on Mayotte's serve. He was known as a lethal server during his ATP days. In trouble here. The incredulous lays like, man, I got one in. It was solid. You're going to foot fault me?
Look, I'm 46 years old. You got to give me a break.
Tough to tell.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
Game back.
And so a break in Mayotte's first service game of the match as Johnny Mac jumps out to a 2-love lead. And it occurs to me, Leaf, if he's going to give that excuse, hey, I'm 46 years old, give me a break. McEnroe's 48. What kind of break do you think you're going to get?
Yeah, it's not going to work. But as you said in the open, you look at Johnny Mac, and he, you know, was, I don't know, 165, maybe 170 pounds in his playing days. But look at him. I mean, his fitness is remarkable. Still has a fairly quick step. And as a player, he was never a guy who had great speed. It was where the racket head was. You know, he's never a guy who built his game around great footwork. It was more about his hands and the racket face.
And based on that fitness that you were talking about, a protracted baseline rally like that is probably not what Tim wants to get into as you look at the all-time singles titles. Mac third on that list.
Yeah, that's an impressive list, isn't it? Look at that. Connors, 109 career titles. And the man who really kicked off the senior tour prior to Jim Courier developing his own Outback Champions Tour, it was Jimmy Connors who had it going.
Mayotte going for the chip charge there.
And you think of John McEnroe, he competed in those senior events as well as in this Champions Cup type of event. He must have won 35 or 40 senior events.
He played in every event on the Outback Champion Series last year, and he's 2 for 2 this year. Tireless McEnroe at 48. He and Courier were the only 2 guys last year who played in all the events on tour. You would think the oldest guy on tour might take a break, but no. And I think it reflects McEnroe's love for the game. He loves to play still.
I think you're right, and I think he knows that these kinds of moments, he won't have as many of these. I'd love to say that he has still a couple years left to play, because the magical moments, he really does know how to play this game, and he's sort of a link with the past, because you don't see guys playing like this on the big show. Federer's an all-round player. Now he missed it.
And so Mac does hold again, out to an early 3-love lead as a couple of serve volleyers face off. You don't see that anymore. We'll talk about it when we come back. Johnny Mac showing very little respect for that second serve. He was a couple of paces inside the baseline to return.
Yeah, and that's what's always so compelling about watching McEnroe. It wasn't the power he possessed. It was how he moved into the ball and got his weight on the ball. And that time he took a swing, but he's a guy who is so good at taking the ball on the rise, seeing it early. Here's a look. This serve, and again, that one had a little bit more pace. You can see McEnroe could not get over it. Tim Mayotte could use more first serves here today. Get into the point on his terms.
Second serve.
Late, but yes, it was a let.
Oh, just wide.
15-30.
I mean, that's a tough call. Here he is down love 3, 15 all, having to work with a second serve. Since when are the lines out? I mean, that's a tough break.
Especially on the hometown kid. He's supposed to get those calls. By McEnroe to get back into that point when Mayotte had the overhead.
Yeah, he is in fighting trim, quick around the court, and then this is where he's the best ever, I think. Transition plays into the net, and was that a smile? Was that John McEnroe smiling on the tennis court?
And so now a break point for McEnroe to go up 4 games to love, put 2 breaks in hand, and have a chokehold on this opening set. a double fault on break point as Tim Mayotte's service is in disarray in this opening set. You know, but kudos to him. This is a guy who found out he was going to play in this event about 3 hours ago. Not a lot of time to get ready. He's playing one of the greatest of all time, and so you know, it might take him a set to work himself into this.
Absolutely.
Match.
And that it reinforces what all of us tennis players know. It is so much about movement and rhythm and timing. And you can see what rhythm and timing can do for you. You don't have to possess huge power. Just location, location. Well, that is a sweet delivery.
Faded topspin lob, but Mayotte allowed to get back in the point, and the second time he doesn't miss.
Yeah, Mac just and not doing enough with the volley, and Tim Mayotte smiling says, thanks, John. Gave him another swing, and he took it.
One of the few instances of charity you will ever see on the court from him.
That's right.
Lots often.
He really does. You know, he's one of these guys who makes anonymous donations. He's a wonderful guy in terms of his commitments to charity.
Not on the court.
Hey, this is tennis.
Yeah. Does not dribble over in Mayotte's favor as McEnroe inches closer to a first set bagel.
He's had no luck, has he? I mean, he's had 2 line calls go against him. The net cord has rolled back.
A foot fault.
Foot fault? What next?
It's so pretty. And we mentioned going a break that not that Tim Mayotte is serving and volleying a lot right here, but you may never see this again in ATP tennis. A pair of serve and volley players artfully moving the ball around the court. This is what tennis used to look like.
Yeah.
And it was so pretty. When McEnroe volleys, it's almost like he's catching the ball in a cup and placing it just where he wants it. He's so deft. And so 5-love in this opening set. McEnroe in command, looking polished and sharp. And that's exactly what he is. We'll see him try to close out set number 1 after this.
Exemplary match, really wonderful.
So 5-love here in this opening set. Tim Mayotte serving, trying to stay alive.
A couple of NCAA champions squaring off here, and I talked to Tim Mayotte about how, you know, he ended up at Stanford. He said, well, I originally applied to NC State, and I couldn't get in.
But he got into Stanford.
I said, what? You couldn't get in? He goes, I said, well, how did John Sodry get into NC State? And it's kind of a funny joke because he was the Mad Marine on the tour, John Sodry. And which is ironic because McEnroe, when he won his NCAA title, he beat John Sodry in the championship match, a wonderful 5-set match back in '78. I think it was right at the Athens Tennis Center there on the campus of the University of Georgia.
And they still play the NCAA championships there often. Sugar. McEnroe won the singles title NCAAs in '78. Mayotte won it in '81.
And just for your knowledge, Brett, I know that John McEnroe played doubles with Bill Mays, and I know they had trouble getting past the team from Princeton, Leif Shiras and Jay Lapidus.
Yes.
In, I think it was the quarterfinals of that NCAA title event, although he did not win the doubles that year. Now that's bread and butter Tim Mayotte right there, and I know he'd like to see more of that. He had one of the best backhand volleys. And like McEnroe, it's about where the racket face is, and he's got a good solid grip behind it. Able to play that inside out with some pace.
And then he throws in the ace to get himself his first game point of this match.
See, Tim is such a nice guy, but I think he needs to get angry here. And I think he's playing angry.
Gentleman Tim is how he was known on the ATP. Always a smile on his face. carrying that New England spirit around the world.
Coffee break at 5 love. 17.50 an hour. I know about you.
Game point, Mayotte. And the cruel, cruel net undoes Tim Mayotte again.
Well, as someone who knows what it's like to face a 5-love deficit on a number of occasions,
I knew we brought you.
There's a lot of pressure here. No one likes to lose a set 6-0. I'm like a Bob Uecker of tennis. I know this situation well. There's a good volley. All right.
It was a matter of time for Tim, starting to feel warm and get his legs under him, and now he's starting to punch off these volleys.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I know Mac will be disappointed with that pass, but Mayotte will gladly eat that one up.
Game point number 2 for Tim. Towards the sky as McEnroe stands with hands on hips. He didn't like that sideline call. That'll get his attention. When you're 5-love down, this is how you react to winning your first game.
It's a good feeling. Tennis gods are kind that game.
All right, so he's on the board. The bad news is it's still 5-1 in Johnny Mac's favor, and he will try to serve it out right here. The precision of a laser with that left-handed forehand straight up the line. It's like he's got it on a string.
Yeah, again, good position, good footwork, gets behind the ball, and when you're behind the ball, you can see that space, your target to hit into. It doesn't matter what your age is as a tennis player, you've got to be in the hitting position, the hitting zone. McEnroe did a nice job of getting himself there.
First double for Johnny Mac in this match, 15 all. Loose on that forehand. Is it possible, Leaf, that John actually serves harder today with the composite racket than he did towards the beginning of his career when he was using wood?
Good question. You know, I played him at Wimbledon in the senior doubles there a couple of years back, and he was serving 117, 118. Oh! You know, that was pretty big.
There's no way he served 117 with a wood racket in 1978.
Yeah, maybe with the Dunlop, the old Dunlop that he used to play with, but he's serving well.
At the wide open court, did Mayotte, couldn't get it over the tape.
Well, that's one great thing that this technology gives us. Club players can play with pace now, and I think you can say that John McEnroe is able to add a bit of power to his game so that he hasn't quite lost that step in that regard. So it's got to be helping him.
30 all.
Now. 40-30.
And a set point for John McEnroe.
Game in the first set, McEnroe. 6 games to 1.
And there it is, with just about as much ease as he could have hoped for. John McEnroe at age 48 breezes through set number 1, 6-1 over Tim Mayotte, and he looked pretty sharply.
He did, and one of the great features of this Champions Cup is that we get to talk to the guys in between the sets. Wonderful setup here, huh?
And when they wire Johnny Mac up, we will get to talk to him. I don't know how much of that first set was about Tim being a little rusty on the short notice call and how much of it was about Johnny Mac. And I know John is wired up now. John, thanks for joining us. Super first set. What kind of credit do you give Tim at all? I know he was on short notice that he was even going to play in this event at all. Kind of a tough spot for him.
Well, I don't think he really expected to play, but I think as he gets his feet wet and gets into the match, he'll pick it up. So I lost my concentration because at the moment it was going a little bit too easily.
Hey, John, we were talking a little bit about your serve in the booth. Do you feel you're serving harder now with the more modern technology than when you were playing back in the 80s?
Well, I got a little more pop on the serve, no doubt about that. I just have no idea where it's going. That's the only difference. But I did, unfortunately, come back from Europe last week and turned on the tennis channel only to see that my infamous match, or at least for me, with Lendl was on, and noticed that my motion was a little bit different. So I'm trying to sort of get it back to that, even though I had a pretty bad serving day. As it turned out, I served under 50% in that match, and that cost me. And certainly indoors, you should be well above 60.
John, thanks so much. Well done in the first set. We'll see you later.
All right.
Johnny Mac, a winner in the first set, 6-1 over Tim Mayotte. We'll come back for set number 2, live in Boston, right after this.
A big win for him. And he came into that French final on a 39-match win streak. I mean, this guy was playing well. It was one of the greatest years ever. You know, something that Roger Federer was not even able to surpass in terms of winning percentage. 84 wins, I think it was 3 losses. Something remarkable like that.
And that would have made him one of the few modern players to win both Wimbledon and the French.
Yeah, exactly.
Agassi did it. Wielander did it. We sadly won't see him today. Mac never did.
That's a great volley. Just to check that, it was 82 wins and 3 losses for McEnroe in 84. I mean, that was his ultimate year.
Tim carving that backhand volley beautiful into the backhand corner of McEnroe.
And what is so remarkable about 84 was that was the last year that McEnroe won a Grand Slam title. You know, he was close after that, a few semifinals, but he was never a champion. Finals of the Open in 85, but you know, that's how dear those moments are. You never know when they're going to come to an end, but you thought after 84 he'd have more fabulous years.
He took that 9-month break. I think it was in 86.
That's
right. He took 6 months off. He got married to Tatum O'Neal, and a lot of people believe he was not the same after that.
Game Mayotte.
And how about that, folks? A love hold for Tim Mayotte as he is starting to find his groove in this second set. Want to give you a little player profile while we have a chance, brought to you by the good folks at Hess. And there it is for John McEnroe, 3-time ATP Player of the Year. And his resume is even too long for us to fully explain.
Yeah, one of just 23 world #1s, 7 Grand Slam titles. You know what's interesting? We mentioned the career titles of players like Sampras, who had 64, Connors, who had 109. But in terms of combined singles and doubles titles, McEnroe is way ahead of everyone else.
77 singles titles, but 78 doubles titles, and that, I say with some assuredness, you will never see again in modern tennis, because the top guys sadly don't play doubles anymore. And I know John believes that their singles games would be better if they played more doubles, because his certainly was. And he practiced less and was able to practice less because he played doubles.
Yeah. Well, he didn't enjoy practice. He'd rather play matches. Doubles was a wonderful way to work on your game, and he just happened to be one of the greatest doubles players who ever lived.
Great hustle by Timmy Mayotte. Running side to side. Talking about those titles, singles and doubles, there's the combined figure, fully 24 ahead of Jimmy Connors. I mean, that is one of those records in sports that will never go down.
No.
Unless Federer gets it in singles alone.
Yeah, that's right. Or unless Bob and Mike Bryan play till they're 50 and win 10 titles a year. Yeah. I can't think of anyone else dominant enough to break that kind of record. Having said that, I mean, Federer has, what, 47 career titles, I want to say. I mean, he still has another 30 titles to go to match Johnny Mac.
On the other hand, he's only 25 years old.
True.
And so the upside is huge for him, although we've seen that he can't win on a combination grass clay court. Most of you probably saw highlights of that yesterday in Spain, him and Nadal. What do you think of that, by the way?
15.
I thought it was a very entertaining gimmick. You know, so oftentimes, you know, things like that can be seen as backfire. I think it's great. I think anything that gets tennis out there in the public eye. I mean, John was one of these guys. He was a pioneer in terms of the nights of exhibitions he would put in. I mean, he would play 50 nighters with Guillermo Vilas and travel around the U.S. to small markets. He really was so important in the tennis community. I want to say that he was also a fine capitalist in doing that, but he also took tennis to places where there wasn't tennis. I mean, he really brought the game to, you know, Orlando and some of these small cities that don't get to see big-time tennis.
There's no question that net, for all his faults, John McEnroe is a net positive for the game of tennis. All, second game, second set. Mayotte held in game one. Just missed. Starting to feel more and more comfortable approaching is Mayotte now. Maybe we'll get to see him play some of his more traditional net tennis.
Yeah. Well, for Mayotte, in this situation, he's the one who needs to pull the trigger first in the rally. You know, make something happen. It's hard for him to play a long, extended rally.
Give me a feel for the surface. You were down there. Quick, slow?
Yeah, it's about a medium speed surface. It's on the slower side, but you can play quick tennis because we are indoors.
Deuce.
So first deuce game on McEnroe's serve here. I'll tell you one thing that Tim Mayotte has that John McEnroe doesn't: an Olympic medal.
That is absolutely true. I think Tim has a silver medal, right?
Won it in Seoul in '88. Yeah. He's very proud of that. Beat Brad Gilbert in the semifinal. Lost to Miroslav Masier in the gold medal match. Mayotte could not dip that forehand down in time, and so McEnroe, despite being stretched to deuce, is able to hold.
Yeah, and again, the master of the volley and the half volley.
Oh, yeah.
Keeps his body very still, bends his knees, and this is the result. He puts his man on the run.
Good effort, just couldn't get enough topspin on it. 1-all, second set. Mayotte's in it now. Serve is starting to shape up, getting his legs under him. For those of you not with us at the start of the match, Mats Wilander was a late scratch due to a back spasm. Tim filling in for him in the draw. Tried the serve volley there, had Max set up, but netted the forehand. Made it to number 7 back in '88. That was a big year for him, '87, '88. He had 5 titles in '87. Won all 5 finals that he played in '87 to get that ranking up there. Top 10 player in 86, 87, and 88 was Mayotte at year's end.
How about a Mac with some mayo on it?
Food order from Tim.
Actually, he's got a food thing going on out there.
Well, he wanted some dessert after his entree, fudge ripple.
15-30.
Make it a double.
Backhand pass. You know, interesting, Tim Mayotte. I mean, he's such a great player at Wimbledon. Always played well on the grass. He reminiscent a little bit of Tim Henman, who always made great charges during those weeks in London. And Mayotte was consistently quarterfinals, semifinals, always knocking on the door.
That's a good shot, though.
15-40.
Double breaker here for McEnroe. There's the Grand Slam result. He made the semis at Wimbledon in 82 and the Aussie in 83, but he was, in addition to that, 5 times a quarterfinalist at Wimbledon, bearing out your point that when he got on the grass, he was always dangerous. He got there in 81, 83, 86, 88, and 89.
Game McEnroe.
And another break for McEnroe after the serve and volley fails for Tim. And so Mac up a set and now a break in the second. Back live to Boston after this. McEnroe to serve up 2-1 second set. Leaf, I know he put that away on the second volley, but I was so impressed by his ability to carve that first volley out of his body.
Yeah, this is a beautiful play. And again, he plays it smartly, just deep up the middle, doesn't surrender the angle. Nice racket work. And again, he's so natural in reacting to balls.
Fan asked for a souvenir. Mac gave him one. Hit the ball into the crowd.
Didn't want it after all.
Good return at Mac's feet, but not able to execute the running forehand, Mayotte. Second double for Mac. And, you know, I just want to say this again. I think, notwithstanding the score, this is a game effort by Tim Mayotte. This is a guy who's never played on the Outback Champion Series, is not accustomed these days to playing this level of competition, and he's doing okay. Okay.
And this could be one of the trickiest matchups for him.
Yeah.
Because McEnroe will make you run and react, and he's pressuring you all the time. And it's McEnroe. You look across the net, and it's one of the all-time greats. And no matter how many times you've played him, it's tough.
You want to hear the bad news for Tim Mayotte? Guess who he plays in round robin number 2?
Well, let me guess. Is he another former world number 1?
Yes.
Is he an American? Considered one of the all-time greats.
Well, we got 2 of those actually here, but yes, you're right.
Pete Sampras?
Yeah, that's who he plays next. So, welcome back to tennis, Tim.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
He kind of nifty.
Wait till it's like 30-all. First serve.
Look at the sportsmanship from McEnroe. Would have been his game in a 3-1 lead, but he offers a first serve on the question call.
That's the old me that screwed everyone at every point. deuce and break point.
I think he's been to deuce once.
And so notwithstanding his sportsmanship, Mac wins the game anyway and takes a 3-1 lead. Easy for Mac to be magnanimous up 6-1, 2-1.
Yeah, well, you know, he has a sense of what a match means to a crowd, and obviously he wants it to be as good as possible. I mean, he knows the outcome of this match, but he's got to get it done.
That's how Tim Mayotte got to 5, Wimbledon quarterfinal.
15 love.
Serve out wide. Natural move for Mayotte, that slice serve, and there's a bread and butter volley if I've ever seen it.
All right, here's my erotic imitation. Here's my Chang imitation.
Hey, the underhand serve. McEnroe standing against the fence. Tim underhand serves him.
Replay first serve.
Sneaky.
Very sneaky.
First serve. Why first? Why first serve? What's the score?
15 love.
I think he hit both lines. And the ball hit the scoreboard that is above the arena here. And that's not in play. And hit that point to Mayotte. Not something you deal with outdoors. You throw up a defensive lob. You don't have to deal with impediments.
I'm not playing till they raise that up. I mean, come on. Ah.
Wait a minute. He served it off the scoreboard and it bounced in the service box on McEnroe's side. I've never seen that. He couldn't do it. If he tried it 100 more times, he couldn't do it again. Off the speakers and in. That's like that old Jordan Larry Bird commercial.
That's
off
right.
the backboard, off the wall, off the rafters, and nothing but net.
Exactly, yes.
And with all those shenanigans, another love hold for Tim Mayotte as he begins to find his serve and play his way into this match. McEnroe a breeze in the first, but we've got a good one in the second. McEnroe up 3-2.
Luke can stand in the crowd somewhere and make the ball in the service box.
And do it with both hands, and that ball just dropped in off the forehand of Tim Mayotte. Thank you very much.
Love 15.
Now, when you're behind in the score, there's nothing better than delivering your first serve to your opponent. No serve and volley that time. Mac was waiting in the back.
When he wanted that one too, trying the kick, left-handed kick to the corner.
Take two.
And Tim Mayotte making the gentlemanly move, offering two serves to John McEnroe, and something you might see on clay. You don't often see that indoors. But that ball does leave a slight mark here on this premier court surface.
13-15.
You be the judge. Plenty good.
Now that's one of the plays that McEnroe has been adding to his game over the last few years, is that inside-out forehand.
I wonder who around this tour could teach him that. Easy hold for McEnroe. I'm thinking about Jim Courier, who probably made that shot more famous than anybody. Won himself for it. Look at the muscle. Look at the. He's Herculean. I would say that he's fit, but his musculature was never one of the things that distinguished Mac.
Well, he was strong. And that's the thing about tennis players. They're strong, yet they're wiry. They don't want to have a lot of weight in the upper body. You know, they want to be light, strong in the legs, but strong enough.
So 4-2 second set. Mac remains up a break. Tim serving here. Needs to hold here to avoid Mac's chance to serve it out.
Oh.
Solid overhead from Mayotte, pretty deep in the court.
Yeah, one of his best points of the day. And starting to step up. Good backhand drive. Now he's got some time. He can step up into the court, and that's so critical. You're trying to take advantage of a point.
Good. That was a phenomenal slice approach from Mayotte. I mean, right in the corner. Mac, great lob.
Yeah, and that's always been one of Mayotte's best plays. But McEnroe, look at the touch and the feel to put this in the corner.
Tried the sky hook, but it wasn't there.
Yeah, that didn't happen. It reminded me a little bit of Jimmy Connors, who had one of the best aggressive underspin lobs.
Not quite a serve and volley, but a serve and a half volley. Waited for it.
Well, that's what a first serve gives you, the chance to step into the court and continue dictating play.
Just wide, 40-15 for Mayotte. I found it interesting, Leaf, that he came onto the tour. Tim Mayotte did in 1981. He was the newcomer of the year that year, but he didn't win his first title on tour until 1985. This guy took a while to develop.
Yeah, and he's a serve and volley player, and that oftentimes takes a little bit longer for them to establish that rhythm. And there it is, 1985. So he was a big part of the tennis scene when McEnroe was at his best.
Mishit on the return from Mac, and that's another hold for Tim Mayotte as he gets to 3-4 in this second set, keeping pace just a hair behind Mac to serve for 5-3 when we come back. On the line.
15-5.
It was on the line, but Tim did not play the reply because he too thought it was out, as McEnroe did, so he essentially handed that point to John.
Yeah.
I was like talking during the point. All right, here we go. Take time to keep my mouth shut.
15 love.
And watching McEnroe again perform at the net, he just doesn't surrender the easy volley error. It's tough to break down that facet of his play.
And Leaf, that will make you, as an opposing player, try to do more with your passing shot and force you into more errors before McEnroe even has to hit a volley.
That's right. And, you know, so many players who defend, they always feel, okay, I'm going to make the volleyer make the volley. But that doesn't necessarily work with McEnroe because he won't miss.
He never misses.
Yeah.
Mishit backhand from Mayotte and an easy hold there, and so we arrive at 5-3. Do not forget, our feature presentation is next. Pete Sampras' long-awaited return to tournament tennis after 5 years away. He's back on the court against Peter Korda. That match is next. Stay tuned for that historic moment.
It's a great night of tennis. We've got 4 one-handed backhands. I mean, I love that.
Think about that. I mean, that's something you may not see in modern tennis on a night session at a
That's
tournament.
old school.
Yeah.
That's old school.
A couple of circle volleyers, some one-handed backhands. I mean, let's bust out the wood rackets and the long pants. I mean, let's make it really old school.
15.
I'm looking forward to seeing Pete Sampras play. He's gone to a slightly larger racket head on his racket, so he feels like he's hitting his serve as big as ever. His backhand has improved as a result. I mean, he's the man to watch this week, as if he wasn't.
I know he spent some time hitting out in California during Indian Wells with Roger Federer, both in the desert and at his home in Los Angeles. Pete said he felt good against Roger. I know he's hit with Jim Courier some, and so while he hasn't played tournament tennis, he's been hitting with some pretty high-level sparring partners.
Yeah. Good depth on the return, and that's what you're trying to do when you're returning serve. You know, instead of just putting the ball in play, try and hit the ball with depth. That way you can stay on absolutely even terms. You don't surrender any advantage. Let's see what McEnroe does with this return. Look at, he's standing right on the baseline. He'll hop step into the blue. Takes the ball on the rise.
Another cruel net cord for Tim Mayotte as he stands now 2 points from defeat. And a little encouragement from this Massachusetts crowd for the Springfield native, Tim Mayotte, playing some substitute duty here, and I think in the end acquitting himself nicely. A favor from the net. He needed that one, Leaf.
Now this is a great dig right here. McEnroe's going to test him there. That's a good feeling.
Full stretch. Well done. I don't know if he's in disbelief that that ball dribbled over or at Mayotte's reaction to the ball dribbling over. Either way, 30-all. And he misses with that forehand.
It's interesting to watch McEnroe approach these passing shots too, because he runs to the ball. He's actually taking passing shots early. He just has a sense of cutting off the court, and he knows space to hit into. He's just a tennis genius.
He's a tactician, he's a master, but a game point for Mayotte here. I think this would give him a good feeling about his Outback Champion Series debut if he could hold here. They called it out in Mayotte's favor. But you know what? He's actually, Mayotte is asking for a ball as if he wants to give that point to McEnroe. And in retrospect, he's going to take the game and move on. And so Mayotte holds. It is 5-4. A much better second set from him. We'll take a break and come back. Johnny Mac, chance to serve it out. We're live in Boston. It's the Outback Champion Series. Live on NESN. Leaf, can you see Tim's game evolving even as this match has progressed? I mean, and I think that's something that club players might take hard at.
Oh, you know? Yes. I mean, McEnroe's clever. He doesn't give Mayotte too much to hit, so Mayotte can't sort of grab the advantage in the rally. Well, that's one of his best returns of the day, and as you play your way into a match, you have to feel as if, okay, I'm making the adjustments to my opponent's pace, his play, and that's just what Mayotte's doing.
It just reminds me of a club player who maybe took the winter off for bad weather and hasn't played in a while,
yeah.
and in a way, that's what Tim is going through and trying to just find his way into this match, and I think he has now. And I think he did right there.
Well, Mayotte has always been gifted off the backhand wing. It's come naturally to him. He has a great grip.
15,
and this time he
15.
carves this one nicely. Again, he plays it from behind his body.
And gets himself to 15-30 on McEnroe's serve. This is suddenly very serious for Johnny Mac. And now
15,
it is
14.
deadly serious as Mayotte comes up with a pair of break points and a chance to draw even in this second set.
Now watch McEnroe here. He's going to regroup, take his time. He's going to bounce the ball here and get a first serve into play.
Up the line was wide open, and now that backhand is starting to groove for Tim Mayotte as he has got his first break of this match.
Now this has been one of the few games where on McEnroe's serve he's been able to create some openings. He's been aggressive off the return, and that's giving him some room to hit into, and he's converting.
And I do not think John McEnroe expected this at all. After the ease with which he won set number one, Tim Mayotte has found his game, and this is a whole new ball game.
Love 15.
Well, when you haven't played a lot of competitive tennis, there's that instinct to chase the game and you force your play. And Mayotte's played a much more relaxed set of tennis. You can see McEnroe's kept it together pretty well. And I'm sure right now he's going to settle in, deliver his best bit of tennis right now and try and break right back on Mayotte's serve.
And then naturally, when McEnroe wins that first set as easily as he does, the instinct, even subconsciously, is to take your foot off the gas a hair. But he just put it back down.
Yeah, he did. And again, he keeps it simple. Watch him move in, uses the pace of the bounce coming into his racket, and just creates the angle.
Love 13.
Umpire had the score wrong for a minute. He's got it right now. Love 30.
El McEnroe doing a wonderful job of yo-yoing Mayotte back and forth along this court, and not much that Mayotte can do. He's in trouble right now.
Good hustle, but love 40 now, and after spending all that energy to get back to even at 5-all, he's now in deep trouble on his own serve. second serve.
15.
Well, it was remarkable, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was a second serve.
Yeah, how about, I mean, going for broke on the second serve. I mean, that ball had no spin. Backhand is long, and the result is what you probably expected it would be. A break back for Mac, and he will get take 2 at serving it out when we come back to BU right after this. Serve called wide. John doesn't like it.
That's one where you say to the umpire, which part of the line did it miss? Very close indeed, right down the center.
15 low.
Boy, Mayotte will want to get that one back. I mean, always how you play on second serves is critical to your success. Got to get the point started.
Spins in that serve right up the tee, perfectly placed by Johnny Mac, 30 love.
And when we spoke to him after the first set, he said, hey, I'm serving as well as I ever have. And you can see that had some pace. It got through the court quickly.
2 points away.
Oh.
Five aces for McEnroe.
That's awful.
14 low.
And with that, we arrive at triple match point for Johnny McEnroe. He's got some good history here. Was the runner-up at Champions Cup Boston a year ago, and trying to start off on the right foot in 07. But not so fast, says the Springfield kid.
That's one reason why they like to call him the Springfield Rifle, because he could pull off shots like that. Great backhanded pass.
Still 2 match points for McEnroe.
The ball landed very close to the baseline. McEnroe taking a look at the line's person. Still got another match point.
Game set match.
Lob goes long, and after a valiant effort to stay alive, Johnny Mac takes out Tim Mayotte 6-1 and 7-5 on night number 2 of the Champions Cup.
Well, Johnny Mac had it all going on. Serve and volley tennis, and at the right times, playing so clinically from the back of the court. He never let Mayotte get comfortable, and this is the result we expected. McEnroe takes it.
Well, I certainly hope this whets Tim Mayotte's appetite to maybe get into some tennis shape and play a little bit more on this tour, because he obviously still has the tools, still has the shots, still has the serve, and perhaps now will have the desire to play on this tour a little bit more. But it's Johnny Mac, a winner in match number 1. Sampras still to come, live from Boston right after this.